Astronomicon, are you still with me? Is everybody still awake? Make some noise if you're still awake. Here we are, day 3 at the inaugural Astronomicon. One of these guys is a horror icon. You may know him as Choptop. You may know him as Otis. Please make some noise and welcome Bill Moseley to the stage. And moderating this fine panel, he was here earlier today, he was here yesterday. He's from AMC's Comic Book Men and the Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast. Please welcome once again, Bryan Johnson.
Alright, hi everybody. Damn,
that's the one that doesn't work.
Can I ask a question?
That doesn't work?
Can I ask a question right off rip before we even get started? Bryan, you made 2 very special requests when you came to Astronomicon to help us celebrate the inaugural one. One was you wanted to make sure you hosted a panel with Kane Hodder right in this room, and then you wanted to make sure you were hosting this panel. From a horror fan's perspective, given your access to these cons and things like this, how much enjoyment do you get from stuff like this?
It's pretty great, because if I wasn't on a TV show, they would tell me to go fuck myself. So being able to just having that little bit of an in to say like, yeah, I'll do it, but I really want to host these 2 panels, and for them to say yes is like, especially something like this, because my backstory with Bill Moseley is, you're not aware of this.
Okay.
Is,
With me.
I went to see Texas Chainsaw 2 in theaters with my friend Ed way back when, and watched it repeatedly on VHS with Kevin once we started, Kevin Smith, who I'm friends with, quoting it, all that other shit. Kevin goes on to make Clerks, and a guy named John Pearson had a barbecue. John Pearson helped Kevin like shepherd Clerks along, and I go to the barbecue with Kev, and I'm talking to some guy, and just a normal conversation, and then he goes, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Ellen Kit Carson. And I was like, holy shit, the guy who wrote Texas Chainsaw 2. One of the most quotable movies ever, forget horror movies. So now I got him, and I kept him for an hour, just asking him questions, and I just want to know, like, how, like, why would you write that line? Why am I lying? Because it's so goddamn good. And really nice dude, like really nice guy. And but years and years later, here we are. Never in a million years dreaming when you sit in that theater like, someday maybe I'll be up on stage with Choptop asking him some questions. You don't think of things like that. So life is very weird. You don't know where you're gonna end up. It was this jail maybe. Better than this.
Mental institution.
Yeah, possibly.
Throwing it out there. Yeah.
So
White Castle.
It's a huge deal to sit up here with him. And I was just talking, we were at a con together, horror con in, I think it was in Maryland. And you were sitting across from me, and I really wanted to say hi, but I don't really do that kind of thing. And I did say hi to John Hurd, who treated me like an asshole. So after that happened, I was like, there's no way. Because I love the guy too much. Like, I love the characters. And I'm like, it would be devastating if you were like, fuck off, Junior. Because then like 18-year-old Bryan sitting in that theater would be like, somebody will be sitting up on stage, Choptop, and he's not going to like you.
That happened to new Captain Beefheart.
Yeah?
Yeah, but that's a whole other panel.
It's, yeah, it's, I'm not normally like that, But this guy, but the beard alone.
The beards alone, exactly. The 2 beards alone up there are quite impressive.
Yeah, National Beard Day.
Yeah, so.
It comes in handy in Detroit, though, with the snow falling,
And
faces warm.
And people are like, oh, it seems like it would, but like the only bothersome part is like maybe the first 2 weeks. After that, you don't really care. Like the itchy and shit.
Yeah.
This isn't a.
And you get to, if you lick your beard, you get to taste lunch. You always can carry. And also, I keep a couple of tat doves. They're nesting behind my beard. So if anybody fucks with me, these fucking birds fly out and go right for your eyes. I'm just.
Where did you draw from, man?
Where did I
For
draw from?
for Choptop, where did you draw
Oh, for
from?
Choptop? Well,
It is so
you know,
manic.
I always give 99.4% credit to Ed Neal. When I was a young man, when I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, I just could not believe a person like Ed Neal or the Hitchhiker could exist. I mean, I'd never seen anything like it. Not only was he loopy and scary, but then he was like, he took a Polaroid and then, they didn't want to buy it, so he, got out a little piece of old folded tinfoil and put the Polaroid in and put a little gunpowder on it and lit it. I mean, and then he was like cutting his own hand, which was scary. I'd never seen a monster hurt itself to like scare other people, and just a bunch of different stuff like that. So when I did a short film back in '84. I did a short film called The Texas Chainsaw Manicure, which I wrote and produced. And I gave myself a little cameo in it, probably 15, 20 seconds, as the Hitchhiker. The synopsis of that was basically a woman goes to a beauty parlor, gets her hair done, sitting under the dryer. Beautician says, want anything else? She says, yeah, I think I'll have a manicure. Beautician goes, manicure, to the back of the shop, and all of a sudden you hear this chainsaw start up, and of course there's the obligatory silver door that slides open, and out comes Leatherface, and he, approaches and attacks this poor woman under the dryer, and starts sawing on her fingers, and she passes out, and they slap her face, and she kind of comes to like, she's got a beautiful manicure, and she goes out to her husband in the pickup truck waiting for her. She goes, look, honey, I got the best manicure ever. And of course her hair is well too. And I'm driving the truck, and I go, hey, and I got the wine mark on my face. I've got all full Hitchhiker, and I go, hey, that's great, honey. We should celebrate with some head cheese. And I had gone out and bought some head cheese, which it's a lot of play in the original Chainsaw. It turns out head cheese wasn't really that, dramatic looking, kind of pretty bland looking, but it is, for those of you who don't know what head cheese is, basically, the eyeballs, the tongue, the udder, whatever, the jelly, whatever is left, whatever the parts are left of a pig that, or a cow, I guess, that people don't use, it all gets kind of ground up and turned into head cheese. So anyway, I had this hunk of head cheese, and then in the little 5-minute film, and I went, hey, we should celebrate with some head cheese. And in one of the takes, I actually even licked it, And anyway, a friend of mine showed this video a couple of years later to Toby Hooper, who at the time was working on Poltergeist with Steven Spielberg's. This is probably back in 85 maybe, and Toby loved the manicure. And showed it to his producing partner, Steven Spielberg. They both loved the manicure. And Spielberg and Toby especially loved my rendition of Hitchhiker. And so, like a year later, it was like Feb 86, I got a call one night out of the blue in my apartment in New York City, where I was working as a freelance writer. And this guy introduced himself as Kit Carson on the phone. And I could tell it was long distance, because back then with like a landline, you could hear it kind of sizzle a little bit. And the guy said, my name is Kit Carson, and I was just wondering where I could send you a copy of the script of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. I was like, whoa. I think the first thing I said was, who is this really? Because I couldn't, I was insane. But anyway, I gave him my address because it was long distance. It sounded long distance. And those were back in the days before computers, so you basically had a screenplay, you had to send it, in a manila envelope through the U.S. mail, something you guys may have heard of, U.S. mail. And anyway, so it showed up a couple days later. I read it. I was told to keep my eye on the character Choptop. So, I read it, and I was thinking, this is fucking awesome. And so I called Kit back. He'd given me his number, and I said, "This is hilarious. I love this." And he said, "Great. Well, we'll be in touch." So I was like, "What's going on?" So then, a couple days later, I get a call from somebody, a very dry person in the Canon Films legal department. And they say, do you want to negotiate your contract or do you have an agent? And I was, I said, let me get back to you. That was a good one. So I had met an agent from William Morris at a Christmas party a couple of months earlier. So I called her up and said, would you negotiate a contract for me? And of course, for an agent, that's free money. She said, sure. And she said, I'll get back to you. So I'm kind of on tenterhooks. As a freelance writer, I was averaging maybe, I don't know, $300 a week, I guess, earnings. Fortunately, I had cheap rent in New York. Anyway, she calls me back. She says, well, I got good news and bad news. And I said, well, what's the good news? She said, well, they really want you to be in this movie. They want you to play this character, Choptop, and they want you to be in it. And I said, well, what's the bad news? She said, that's amazing. What's the bad news? She said, well, they're only going to pay you scale. And I didn't even know what that meant. It turns out in the Screen Actors Guild of the union, that means minimum wage. And I said, wow, well, how much is that? And she said, well, I don't know, I think it's like $1,600 a week. I'm like, whoa, that's a lot more than I'm making. So that's fucking great. She said, well, yeah, but then, because there's going to be some prosthetics, you got a plate on your head and everything, they would prefer you to shave your head. And I was like, okay. She said, so, I told them you were a working actor and that, with a bald head, it was going to, set you back a couple of months. So they've agreed to pay you $5,000 to shave your head. And I'm like, no, that's not bad news. That's fucking insane. So I just was laughing, and, I got the part.
The head shaving is like, that's even better news.
Yeah, it's like, okay. So that's what happened. I, never auditioned. I had never met Toby Hooper. It was all on the basis of this 5-minute movie that I made, and the rest is history.
I made a movie where it's a father and his two sons drawn so heavily as to almost be stealing from Texas Chainsaw 2. That dynamic, I always loved how dysfunctional that was. The arguing and nonstop bickering reminded me of my childhood if the bickering was awesome and colorful as opposed to just regular bullshit.
Right.
That's what
With
I
a few
love.
dead bodies.
Right, yeah. With some dead bodies, some kind of hostages. Well,
I have been a part of, at last count, at least 3 kind of infamous fucked up families. Starting with the Sawyers in Chainsaw. And then I also did a movie called, House of a Thousand Corpses and the Devil's Rejects. So the Fireflies and the Driftwoods, they were pretty fucked up. And then I also did a movie called Repo, the Genetic Opera. So we have the Largo family, and they're pretty fucked up. So I seem to be kind of,
You're the good
I don't know. And my family was, I wasn't that fucked up, but, certainly there's plenty to draw on.
Yeah, if my family made chili out of humans, it would basically be mysterious.
Yeah, if my mom was a better cook, I don't know if I'd even be.
This is a sort of an abbreviated panel, so if people want to ask questions of Bill, I don't want to sit here taking up time.
I had a quick question, another one if you don't mind. We spoke about it a little bit outside, Bill. You were in a movie called Dead Air, where you played a radio disc jockey stuck on an overnight shift during the zombie apocalypse.
Yes.
That we later find out to be actually a work of terrorism.
Right.
How much broadcasting from 9/11 did you listen to prepare for that role? Because watching that movie, it plays like the morning of 9/11. You have someone insulated inside of a studio explaining to the masses confusion and chaos that he's not participating in.
It's interesting, the script was so good that it really kind of, that's where I usually draw most of my inspiration when I prepare for stuff. Other actors have different ways of getting into character. For me, the script was really, pretty much all I used to prepare for that. I mean, certainly I lived through 9/11, and so that was all kind of in there anyway. But that's really what it came down to. So I just remember how tough it was. We actually ended up shooting that movie. We shot for 3 weeks, and we still had a week to go. And our director, Corbin Burnson, who was also in, Corbin Burnson, LA Law, directed that. And he had, what is his show, Psyched, maybe? And he was on, and this was his off month or two, and he directed the first 3/4 of Dead Air. And then he went off to fulfill his contractual obligations on Psyched. So he was gone for 6 months. So we didn't finish that movie until 6 months later. So there were a lot of factors involved. I can't say about Dead Air that it was a very smart script and very cool. I love playing Logan Bernhardt. And it's very hard to find Dead Air. I think you guys might have, I don't know if you can download it. I'm more of a DVD guy, and I know that I don't even think it's on Amazon. I think you can get it on eBay for like $60 for one ragged little, DVD. But it was great fun working with Patty Tallman. Patricia Tallman, I first worked with her in Tom Savini's remake of Night of the Living Dead. And she played Barbara, the kick-ass Barbara. So we became pals there. She also was in Army of Darkness, as was I. We didn't have the same, we weren't in any scenes together. But, we've always been pals. And to team up with her as my ex-wife on Dead Air was really a lot of fun.
The relationships and everything made that movie, like you said, that script was fantastic. But what it was a zombie movie without many zombies. I think there were maybe 3 actual undead in that whole film. But it was a complete scary zombie movie. Rumor has it that you guys are getting ready to start production to finish the Devil's Rejects trilogy with Rob Zombie. I'm hearing something about filming starting in March. Can you give us any updates on anything about that?
Yeah, that would be great. Let's all, from your lips to God's ears, man. The way I have been, saying, kind of parrying that rumor at my table is basically it goes from rumor to reality if there is a script, contract, and a start date. And so far I don't have any of those things, so it's still a rumor, but
so since cancellation has nothing to do with that potential movie, which that was one of the rumors running around.
I heard he's working. I don't know what he's working on, but it better not be. Fuck, man.
Of all your iconic characters, if there was one you had to pick, and they said, guess what, we're gonna let you make one last movie, we're gonna let you do whatever you want. What iconic character of yours do you bring back in 2018 with a new look or a new take on a character, if you could redo one or continue the story of one?
It doesn't take long to figure that out. I would say Choptop. I was always sad that I never got a chance to play Choptop again. I did kind of reprise Choptop in kind of a backyard 10-minute movie by Toby Hooper, director of the original Chainsaw and Chainsaw 2. His son, Tony, called me one day, years ago. It must have been about 98, 99. And Tony wanted to, he was looking for a job in computer graphics. So he wanted, to get a couple people in the back, basically a backyard video, to show off his computer graphics skills. So he called me up and he said, I want to do this kind of prequel to Chainsaw, the original Chainsaw. So it's when you and the hitchhiker, we're brothers, me and the hitchhiker. And during the first Chainsaw, when the hitchhiker's looping around, I'm in Vietnam getting, my head wound. So he wanted to do basically, the two of us when we were, younger psychos. So that sounded good. It was kind of like some, doing a favor for a friend. So I said I could be a 1 day on it. And but he had a makeup guy named Todd Bates, who has since passed away at a pretty young age. But Todd was a big Choptop fan. So Todd was going to do the makeup, which was cool, because, I can't do the makeup. So anyway, so I went over to Tony's house, and the Hooper house, and in Los Angeles, and we, made this thing called the All-American Massacre. And it's kind of a flashback. It starts with Choptop like 10 years after the end of Chainsaw 2. And by now, which I really like, the makeup effect was that I had a much bigger plate since I've been scratching for 10 more years. I like that. But anyway, now I'm in the mental penitentiary, and I'm getting interviewed by kind of a Geraldo Rivera, it's kind of like a documentary, and so the story I tell is then, dramatized by this flashback. It was so funny because Buckethead played Leatherface. And Buckethead is, I don't know, the world's greatest guitar player, but he's also a tall and skinny dude.
Since you brought him up, maybe you want to explain to these 5 people who are the Cornbugs.
Cornbugs is me and Buckethead, and Buckethead's drummer from his old San Francisco band called the Deli Creeps, and his drummer's name is Pinchface. So Pinchface, Choptop, and Buckethead. I still have a couple of CDs on my table, but we put out a bunch of music. I did the vocals and wrote the lyrics, and I did most of them as Choptop. So anyway, my pal Buckethead is now playing Leatherface in a fat suit. I've got a bigger plate. It was a cool little thing, and that was about the only time I've ever revisited Choptop, officially. Except on a fateful night back in October of 1999, there was at Universal Studios in Burbank, California. There was a award show. It was kind of a Universal in-house award show called the Igor Awards, and it was outdoors, a bunch of folding chairs, a little rinky-dink thing. Basically Universal kind of patting itself on the back. And I had a friend who was like the head of publicity for Universal City Walk, and he called up and said, "You're a monster, right?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Our MC has bailed, so we need somebody to MC this, horror award show." So I said, "Okay." He offered me some dough, he offered me some money, and I said, "Well, would you like me to come as Choptop?" And he said, "Well, it's not a Universal character. Let me get back to you." He called me back and said, "Well, you were in Army of Darkness, so you're part of the Universal family, so you can come as Choptop." So he gave me some extra dough to get my buddy Todd to make me up as Choptop. And I put on an old ratty tuxedo, and I emceed this little award show as Choptop. Well, one of the award recipients was Rob Zombie. And and I brought my then 13-year-old daughter along, and with her little buddy, and they were like big Hellbelly Deluxe fans, and they were like all excited. I didn't really know Rob's stuff that well. I'd seen him on Beavis and Butthead, I think, the White Zombie. And anyway, so I'm out there as Choptop in a tuxedo, and I'm going, and here he is, Rob Zombie. And Rob comes out. Rob is like blinking and shocked because it turns out, he is a Choptop fan, And so Rob got to the mic and said, Steve, you told me the real Choptop was here. I would have said you were crazy. And so he was very excited about that. We talked after the show in the green room, so I wanted to get my kid, get a little autograph and a handshake. And Sherry was there, his then girlfriend, now wife, and Rob's parents were there, because Rob apparently had been nominated for different awards and had never won anything. So Rob finally, and the award was like a little demon statuette, looked like a little kind of, mutant Oscar. And Rob was very excited, and we had a nice chat. And a month later, probably November, December of '99, I got a call one day at home from Rob's then manager, Andy Gould, who said, Rob just got this screenplay green-lighted, meaning money, by Universal, and he wants to know if you'd like to be in it. And at the time, I don't even think I was doing extra work. I was, actors go through a lot of, peaks and valleys. And usually the valleys are bigger than the peaks. So I wasn't really working that much. And he said, would you like to be in it? And I said, sure. And he said, well, we'll send over a script. Just look at the part of Otis Driftwood. So I said, I'm going to check it out. So the script arrived, and I was thinking, fuck, like a flashback, fuck, this is a big part. And so that's how I didn't audition for that either. And the rest is history. That's how I got the part there. So God bless Choptop, I guess is the summary of this whole thing. Choptop with Buckethead, with, I did Night of the Living Dead, the color remake that Tom Savini directed. And we became pals because Tom was the king of splatter. Tom Savini was a special effects makeup artist on Texas Chainsaw 2. So he did all the Choptop makeup, he did the new Leatherface mask, he did everything. And when he got the invitation from George Romero to direct the remake of Night of the Living Dead, Tom called me up and said, hey, I want you to be in it. I'm going to send you a copy of the script and by the mail. And he said, read the script and pick any part you want. So being a good, thinking actor, I read the script, it was awesome. And I wanted to play the guy, Harry, the guy in the basement, because he was a bad guy and had, a pretty big part. And I'm thinking big part means, I'm going to get paid more. And so I called up Tom and I said, hey, this is great, man, I want to play Harry. He goes, pick any part, just make sure it's Johnny. I was like, because Johnny doesn't last very long. And so I knew that the key to Johnny was being able to say, they're coming to get you, Barbara, and I just knew that was the key. So I remember renting a movie, a VHS back then, called Die Monster Die, which starred Nick Adams from The Rebel on TV, and an older Boris Karloff. And cool movie, Die Monster Die, like a H.P. Lovecraft story. And so I just played that over and over again until I was able to go, now coming to get you, Barbara. And so that, thanks to Choptop, everything comes from Choptop. So I've always, I gotta say, even on the back of my phone, probably can't see it, but there's Choptop on the back of my fucking telephone. So not a day goes by that I don't say, yo.
Well, you definitely have forgotten your roots. Is there any questions from the studio audience here? Raise your hands. Any questions? Well, we're finishing up about a half hour here, fellas. If you want to say any closing statements, we'll make some room for this next panel.
I just can't believe that there are no questions. You guys know it all?
Yeah.
There you go. The goddamn icon's sitting up here. Ask him something.
I was just wondering that if they ever did make a Texas Chainsaw remake and wanted you to play it again as Choptop older, would you do it?
Fuck it. Yeah, because Choptop older just means Choptop crazier, so that'd be a lot of fun. As some of you may know, I was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D. And it was very funny because at first it was called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D. And then they decided that the word massacre didn't test well with the audience, so they dialed that back. So then it became Texas Chainsaw 3D, and which I always wondered about. And then on top of that, I had known the producer, one of the producers, a guy named Carl Mazzacone, great guy. He had produced Repo, and also another movie I was in called The Tortured, where I play a child, molester, killer, murderer. Thank you. And anyway, so Carl Mazzacone had this other project, which was a reboot of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And he said, yeah, we want you in it, and we want you to play Drayton. And Drayton, of course, is the older brother. he's the one that's driving in the pickup truck and hitting the girl with a stick. And, he is awesome. And a great friend, the late great Jim Ceda. So Carl said, I want you to play Drake. And I'm thinking, Drake? Isn't that kind of like asking Curly to play Moe in a remake of the Three Stooges? Why would I play Drake? Well, it turns out that Chainsaw 2 and Chainsaw 1 are not, Siamese twins. So Chainsaw 2, the rights are owned by Sony Studios. And Chainsaw 1 is something else. So, the remake of Chainsaw 1 did not have the rights to Choptop. So they wanted me to play Drayton. So I said, okay, I'll play Drayton. And then the producer said, yeah, and I want you to, he was a hefty guy, so I want you to put on a, fat suit. I said, wait a minute, he wasn't hefty, he was like gaunt. He said, no, he was hefty, so, you gotta wear that fat suit. And I was like, and I know that, I put that out there, and I know that, there's a little voice that has kept me working for Logie these last 30 years, and it says, shut up, Bill. Shut up, Bill. Nobody. Shut up, Bill. Okay, all right. So I agreed to wear this fat suit, and then I got a call from the director, and the director said, I want to welcome you to the picture and all that stuff. And he said, how does it feel to be playing the father? And I said, well, glad to be a part of this thing, but frankly, Drayton is the older brother. And the director goes, no, he's the father. And I hear this little voice saying, shut up, Bill. Shut up, Bill. So I just went, yeah, it feels good. It feels real good. So, so I ended up playing Drayton. It was very fun because, Jim has passed away and had passed away by the time we did that movie. So I wanted to make sure that Jim, that his memory or character was, safe. So I was honored to be able to do that. And then also, it was funny because, I didn't understand Jim's body movements. Because it kind of looks like he's fat because he kind of walks with his stomach distended. But then I realized that he had a certain kind of a body, and I will kind of demonstrate it. I guess it's the best way to do it. He would actually, here. Jim, I don't know if you can see me, but yeah, maybe I can do it. This is a recipe for disaster. But like with Otis, Otis is all about the balls. It's like, hey, fuck you. But with Jim, Jim had some kind of a weird, I don't know how he did it. He would kind of had this thing going on. So as soon as I figured that out, then I realized that I could play Jim.
So was that a character thing, or did he always walk in the middle of the time?
No, he was like that was his body. Yes. But anyway, so I don't even know where that. I hope that answered your question. I have no idea what your question was.
We got one
Question right here for you.
Okay.
Big fan, audio over here, but you're considering your character Otis from House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects. There was a transformation between the two movies of the character.
Yep.
Now in Devil's Rejects, was there an amount of improvisation that you applied to that character, or was it all scripted? Did you stay on script, or did you veer off? Because there was some lines in that movie that resonated through my life that are absolutely fantastic.
In House of a Thousand Corpses, it was Rob's first movie. We did it on the back lot, most of it on the back lot at Universal Studios in Burbank. The House of a Thousand Corpses was actually recycled from a movie called The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. So the house was actually the Chicken Ranch, with Dolly Parton and Sly Stallone singing and dancing. So that kind of was weird. But with it being Rob's first feature film, he was a little stricter, certainly with me, in terms of just sticking to what was on the printed page. By the time we did Devil's Rejects, we worked together, we laughed together, cried together. So we were a little more, it was more comfortable. So I did a little improvisation. At one point, I'm about to kill Banjo and Sullivan. And so there was an improv where I'm going, I feel it, God Almighty. I mean, that was kind of improv because I think I forgot my lines on that. But I am the devil. And I think that was certainly on the that's Rob's, and I think that was basically Tex Watson what he said when he showed up at Sharon Tate's with the takeout. And then the other thing was. There was a scene where actually it's that same Banjo and Sullivan scene. I'm driving them in the van, and we park the van, and then we have a long walk to what I call the kill site, and we're walking along, and there was nothing scripted there. And Rob said, as we're walking, we needed to fill up some of that dead air, so to speak. And he said, why don't you say? Is that your wife's pussy stink on my barrel or something like that? I was like, what? I said, yeah, say it. On my gun. Is that your wife's pussy stink on my gun? And I was like, oh my God, okay. I guess I am going to hell. So I said that, and then I added, hope it don't rust the barrel. Okay, so we played off one another pretty good on that. But what I thought, by the way, the difference was very stark in terms of not only the character look, like mostly Captain Spaulding is mostly out of clown makeup. Otis, who started out in House of a Thousand Corpses as an albino with like red flecked eyes and pale skin, and Otis now becomes like one of the Allman Brothers. All of a sudden now I got a beard. This really House of a Thousand Corpses ends, and Devil's Rejects begins probably not more than 2 weeks after House of a Thousand Corpses ends, because that's why the sheriffs are raiding us. It didn't take that long to figure out there was some trouble at the Firefly House. But all of a sudden, now I'm completely changed. Sherry only laughs or laughed once in Devil's Rejects. And what I thought was really cool was that it's almost a different genre. It was from kind of classic old dark house horror film to really kind of a violent crime road picture. And that's when I thought Rob was not just a good filmmaker, but a genius. I just thought, because most of the time, we all as horror fans have suffered through a lot of shitty sequels. And I think a lot of times shitty sequels are the product of cynical producers who figure, the kids will eat it up. Yeah, it's just, we'll just rehash the same, same character, same storyline. The kids will eat it up. And all they're looking for is maybe, 70% of the box office, 50%. Rob, I think was resistant to doing a sequel until, he figured out how to do it and did this amazing transformation from House to Devil's Rejects. And I really was down with it. I thought, man, this is fucking cool. Because it wasn't just, a sequel. It was like whole new territory. So it's great. Yeah, I love it.
Well, fellas, I'm sure we could all listen to this all afternoon, but we got to make room for that next panel. Any closing statements from either one of you? Where can the fans check out what you've got coming up, your musings on social media?
I'm at Choptop Moseley on Twitter and Facebook and whatever else.
Instagram,
yeah. Instagram, you forget. Instagram. Yeah.
Well, thank you both.
Yeah.
Astronomicon, do me a favor. Make the joyous noise for Bill Moseley and Bryan Johnson.
Hey! Bill Moseley, and I'm here at Astronomicon. Very happy to be here in beautiful Sterling Heights, Michigan. Thank you to Twisted for having me, and thank you for putting me on your CD, and thank you for putting me in your video, and thank you for inviting Kane Hodder here, although I really wondered why you did that.
Hello, America. Did you miss me?
Dog will hunt.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
Hey, this is Choptop, and here to talk about Astronomicon in Sterling Heights, Michigan. By golly, I'll be there. Sure as shit hope you will. Tom will hunt.